Let's look at the Dolphins here for a second. Mike McDaniel on the hot seat, like the hot seat.
I would think it's scorching hot right now. The Dolphins are an organization. Stephen Ross is an owner that has not been afraid to, fire the coach in season. Joe Philbin, Tony Sperano immediately come to mind. There probably may have been others as well. I think Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, frankly, are fortunate. We're a little lucky to survive the offseason. I think there was a case to be made that the team had kind of run its course after 3 years and that McDaniel's message was kind of falling flat in the locker room. We'll see if running it back this year with a lot of the same guys, they can have different results. Obviously, I think Tua's health is going to be a huge part of it. They've got to keep him healthy for 17 games or close to it. And obviously that's been the big struggle for him. But yeah, I got to think that kind of all the analysts and people you talk to around the league right now, Miami's just putting out bad vibes and is not an organization that people have a lot of faith is going in the right direction heading into 2025. And so I think Mike McDaniel has a lot of work to do to kind of stem the flow of where this thing's headed and get some positive momentum again for the Dolphins.
And been last year, Tua goes down, which he's only played one full season since he's been in the NFL. And then we have Tyler Huntley, and then we have Boyle, and we have Skylar Thompson. And you could tell they couldn't run the offense. They were averaging like 12 points a game when Tua was out. Where is our quarterback room now? Because you knew the situation you had. You go into the offseason, we signed Zach Wilson, and we draft Quinn Ewers. Did Chris Greer do any justice to Mike McDaniel with this quarterback room we have now?
Well, I'll say this. I think Chris Greer is kind of putting his job on the line with his choices at backup quarterback. In selecting Zach Wilson, that's a big move for the Dolphins, backup quarterback, because as you all know, Tua misses games almost every year. It seems like the Dolphins targeted Zach Wilson. That was the guy that they wanted to be their backup. He's got talent. I mean, you can see it like in warm-ups and sometimes with his play. Zach Wilson's got a live arm. He's got some good athleticism. He's got talent, but he's obviously not really been able to put it together in two spots so far. Two teams have kind of given up on him. It wasn't much of a market for Zach Wilson. I can't sit here and tell you it's a bad decision. Maybe the light bulb clicks on for him and, he's a good spot starter for the Dolphins this year. But I got to think that if he doesn't pan out, that's a big strike against Chris Greer when weighing whether to keep him for another year as general manager, when that the backup quarterback is a huge position on the Dolphins and you didn't go out and get someone that's a little more certain than Zach Wilson is right now.
Hey, Ben, even if everything, I'm taking the most optimistic approach here to the Dolphins season. Everything works out in terms of injuries, right? Like Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb stay healthy. The Dolphins offensive line looks improved. Tua plays 17 games. This team,
undefeated,
healthy at their best. Your gut feeling, can they even, again, all those things are true. Can they compete with the best teams in the AFC, the Ravens, the Chiefs, all those teams?
Well, I think best case scenario, the Dolphins, like Tua has a great bounce back season. Tyreek Hill goes for 1,500, like all that again. I think 11-6, a spot in the playoffs, a top 10 offense, all that's on the table. But I still think that's the ceiling. I mean, same as it was the last couple of years. Mike McDaniel's teams have not been very tough in December and January. They've not been able to beat good teams. So, that's a lot that they've got to prove they can overcome. And I just don't see them, this iteration of the team, getting over those humps. So, yeah, best case scenario, they're a playoff team, but that is asking for a lot to go right this year.
Very early seedings in the AFC East, according to Ben Volin at the Boston Globe. Seed the AFC East.
I'm going 1, Buffalo Bills. That's probably the easiest one. I'm going to go 2, Patriots. I think the Patriots will make a jump to 8 or 9 wins. I think that'll be enough. I'm going 3, New York Jets. And the reason I hesitated for number 2, I actually think the Jets could be number 2 this year. I like what the Jets are building right now. They've got 3 first-round picks on their offensive line. Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor are their quarterbacks. So obviously very much a run-first offense, deep stable of running backs. They've got a very talented defense. They locked up Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. I like that Aaron Glenn is operating very quietly with no hoopla whatsoever. The Jets, after the last few years, I think they want no drama, no attention. No one's paying attention to the Jets. No one has any expectations for them. They play defense, run the ball, and don't make too many dumb mistakes. I could see the Jets being like a 7 or 8 win team and just being a team that no one wants to play this year. And then fourth, I'm going the Dolphins. I just think this thing's about to implode. And, it seems like McDaniel's lost the locker room. When you have who was the player who admitted that the team was like lying last year when they said they were all in and they weren't really giving their best effort. I mean, that's not a good sign for the coach and his grip on the locker room. So I think the Dolphins are probably going to implode this year, and it's probably not going to be a fun season down in Miami.
Hey, Ben, and this is a big, I just thought of it because you talked about McDaniel. This is a bigger question. I know we have a couple minutes left. Like that player coach thing, because I had this conversation a lot where like Dan Campbell's a butt wipe. Bill Belichick was a butt wipe. Bill Parcells was a butt wipe. Like Nick Saban, I played for him. Like he didn't want to be your friend. Do your damn job. Then there's those nicer coaches. Like, can you think of one of those nicer, player-friendly, hey, fellas, you take over the locker room. We'll do the planning, and this will work out. People always bring up Pete Carroll. I don't think Pete Carroll was like that. I think Pete Carroll was energetic with the media, but I think Pete Carroll was still an almost, quote-unquote, do-your-job guy. Can you think of any of those nice, pleasant player coaches that have worked out and been successful?
I mean, I think Dan Campbell kind of qualifies as that. His players love him. And, it's not because he's like, it's because he's kind of a meathead a little bit. But the players love Dan Campbell. And I see some of that in Mike Vrabel, too. I mean, Vrabel jumps in the middle of the ring when he's, in the middle of offensive line, defensive line drills and throws on the blocking pad and gets into it with the guys. And, I just think players respect the coach who they know has their back. And whether you're a hard ass or whether, you're a soft coach, like, do you have the players' backs? And Belichick, mostly did. Sometimes he didn't. But so with Mike McDaniel, I just think discipline has been the big problem with the Dolphins, and I think that shows itself in those cold weather games and in those games against the really tough opponents. So I don't know if it's about having a ping pong table in the locker room just as much as McDaniel maybe doesn't have a solid grip on the discipline of the team.
He's got to get rid of the hoodie. He's doing this thing every year where he wears the hoodie in the 100-degree training camp heat and on the sideline. He's standing outside. He's wearing a hoodie. It hasn't worked. This reminds me of Al Golden with the tie. At some point, lose the tie. It's not working. It's not working. You're cutesy with it. It's not working. He needs to go out there looking like Dan Campbell. Mike McDaniel needs to have, the shorts that just grip onto the thighs. And then, a T-shirt or something over that. He's got to get rid of the capri pants and the hoodies during 100-degree training camp.
But Hawk, you'll have to gain 120 pounds of muscle.
No, just get shorter, like smaller shorts. Shop in the Husky section. They still have a Husky section? All right, Ben Volin, read his work in the Boston Globe. Follow him on Twitter, and we'll talk to you throughout the football season. It's fun to have it back. Thank you, as always, Ben.
Always a pleasure, boys. Thank you.
There you go, Ben Volin from the Boston Globe.